A little over a year ago, this channel began with a video called Methless the Dark Infinite. My reason for making it was quite simple. I wanted to see it, and no one else was going to make it. I had some experience editing videos in the past, so I figured why don't I give it a shot. Here we are a year later, and this channel has over 50 subscribers. Words cannot express how grateful I am to everyone who thought it was worth their time to subscribe here. I was hesitant at first to make this the 50 sub special, considering a lot of people probably don't care about my favorite Sonic games, but since I was going to make it eventually anyway, I might as well get it out of the way, and hopefully you all can derive some enjoyment from it. I'm sorry this video is a bit late, but considering it's a 50 sub special, I didn't want to release it and then someone decides to unsubscribe, and then I've only got 49 subs, but there's a 50 sub special. But now I think I'm in the clear. Before we begin, I feel like I need to say that these are my opinions. I'm in no way saying these are the definitive best Sonic games, just the ones I personally enjoy the most. So please be respectful in the comments below. Also, fair warning, if you're a classic Sonic purist, you may not like this list. Anyway, without further ado, I bring you my top 5 Sonic the Hedgehog games. Number 5. Sonic Unleashed for the Xbox 360 and PS3. Oh yeah, let's get this list started off right. Where do I even begin with this game? Well, for starters, this was the last main series game where I wasn't shouting "shut up" at my screen whenever Sonic opened his mouth.
Yeah, I'll just stick with Aliens if that's okay with everybody.
Shut up! This game, along with Black Knight, closed out the golden age of Sonic, and what a closer it was. The story of this game is that Sonic is at the end of one of his adventures. With 7 emeralds in hand, he tears through Eggman's fleet and chases him down. But he's tricked as Eggman sucks the emeralds out of him and uses them to crack the earth and free Dark Gaia, which results in Sonic becoming a werehog. The story of this game is very well done. It stumbles in a few places, Chip can be a bit annoying at times, and why do the people look so cartoony? They looked normal in games like Shadow and 06, but I would hardly call that a major criticism. And Chip isn't nearly as bad as other characters in Sonic media. As for the gameplay, you have 2 different types. Daytime stages, which utilize the boost formula, and nighttime stages, where you play as the more combat-heavy werehog. The boost gameplay manages to mix in just the right amount of difficulty and platforming while retaining the fast pace the boost gameplay is known for. I say without any hesitation that the boost gameplay has never been done better than in this game. Wait, that kind of spoils the rest of the list, doesn't it? Shit. The werehog stages are fun too, admittedly a bit tedious at times, especially at the beginning before you level up his strength, which is definitely the #1 priority when upgrading. But overall, his gameplay is still very fun. The metal hunting is a bit irritating, but as long as you pay attention, they aren't hard to find. And let's be real here, all games have padding. I take that over, oh, I don't know, bouncing on a spring for 2 minutes. Not to mention the levels look beautiful, so there's no reason not to want to run back through them. The music is great too, with 2 great lyrical tracks, one of which even has a video on this channel, and plenty of great level themes. If you haven't seen it, Smooth for Life has done great lyrical covers of a bunch of them, so I suggest checking those out. I wish this game had been better received when it came out. If it had, maybe the Sonic franchise wouldn't have gone down this path of playing it safe constantly. Especially since everyone's criticisms of the game seem to boil down to, man, isn't it making Sonic a werewolf stupid? I mean, no more so than making Luigi a ghost hunter or making Toad into yarn, but okay, what else is wrong with it? Yeah, but isn't it stupid that Sonic's a werewolf? Okay, but what actually makes the game bad? Yeah, but werewolf— shut up! Despite some missteps, there's no surprise that this game unleashes itself onto this top 5.
Let's do it.
Number 4. Sonic Adventure for the Dreamcast, GameCube, and various other consoles. Before I say anything else, let me start out with this. I do not care about the whole Dreamcast versus DX argument. They're the same game, and I'm going to treat them like the same game. Cool? Okay. So much of what I love about Sonic started with this game. The gameplay is tight. Mostly, but more on that later. The level design is great. It's got multiple characters, amazing music with Crush 40's debut of the series, various unique environments, and a well-crafted, in-depth story. Unfortunately, that last one has kind of been ruined for some people by the somewhat dated cutscenes, but you've got to understand, at the time, this was revolutionary. And at least they tried with this story, while at the same time Mario was still limited to save the captured princess. The adventure-style gameplay for Sonic is a personal favorite of mine. Tails' gameplay is pretty much the same, plus flight. On top of that, this game gave Tails a legitimate and compelling character arc, ending with a badass confrontation between him and Eggman. Knuckles' gameplay is an interesting twist on that, having him find scattered pieces of the Master Emerald. Gamma's is even more different, being a shooter as well as having a really sad ending. Unfortunately, however, there is one character that is just awful. One story that is just unbearable to play. And that is Amy. Now I know you were expecting me to say Big, so let's talk about his gameplay first. It is certainly not great, but its badness is way overblown. As long as you know how to play it, rotating the analog when Froggy bites the pole, it's simple enough, and the story can be completed in about an hour. It's not great, but it's not as awful as people make it out to be. The same cannot be said for Amy. Don't get me wrong, I have nothing against her character, but her gameplay sucks. It's basically just, let's take Sonic, make him a tenth of the speed, and that is being generous, and take away all of his abilities. You have to stop dead in your tracks to even kill an enemy, and have the annoying robot following you the entire time. Thankfully, they were merciful enough to only give her 3 stages, but those are 3 stages of pure agony. But overall, Sonic Adventure is a great game that revolutionized not only the Sonic franchise, but video games as a whole. And even though it's got its problems,
all's well that ends well, right?
Number 3. Sonic Heroes on the GameCube, Xbox, and PS2. Look out down below, Sonic is on the go. In this great game, I'm so sorry. This game did so much right. Multiple playable characters implemented in a way that doesn't break the pace, great music, great level design, and while the story was a bit more simplistic than I would have liked, it's still miles better than what we've gotten in recent years. And it's not without merit. Team Dark's revenge plot is super interesting, it just needed a bit more. The others are fine, but overall Team Dark's is my personal favorite. The CG cutscenes are also some of my favorite in the series. While in later games like Unleashed or 06, the CG cutscenes went for a more realistic approach, these ones go for a more stylized one. The characters almost look like toys in a way, I really like it. I also really like how this game handles its difficulty, using the different teams as different settings. They probably should have been a bit more clear about that, but what you gonna do? If you just want to play a moderately difficult experience, play Team Sonic. If you're looking for a bit more challenge, play Team Dark. If you're having a bad day and you just want to breeze through a level, play Team Rose. And if you are a masochist, play Team Chaotix. Again, nothing against their characters, the Chaotix are some personal favorites of mine, especially in Sonic X. But these missions just get painful. True story, the first time I played through their Grand Metropolis, I was stuck for about an hour just because one of the enemies didn't spawn. Oh yeah, and insert mandatory comments about slippery controls here. In all seriousness, while I don't think they're the game ruiners some make them out to be, it is kind of a problem when I have to be deathly afraid of flying off the stage whenever I use a power character. Also, why on God's green Mobius did no one tell Shadow the truth about his past? I mean, Rouge read Gerald's diary. She knows about everything with Maria. She was with him pretty much the entire time in SA2. I guess if I was to really stretch for an in-canon reason, maybe she didn't tell him because she truly believed he was an android, and figured that revelation would be easier for him if he were still a blank slate, rather than believing he was an actual person. But if that is the reason, Rouge is as dumb as a sack of rocks. Why would this one shadow android be buried deep in Eggman's vault, specifically designed to house top secret treasures, while all the rest were on the Egg Fleet awaiting deployment? Think about it this way. In Shadow the Hedgehog, Shadow not having his memories is the main reason he sides with Black Doom in any of the bad endings. Memories Rouge easily could have told him about. In these timelines, Rouge literally dooms the world. God, what was this video about again? Oh yeah, top 5 Sonic games. Insert bad pun here, next number. Number 2. Oh boy, people are gonna get mad at this one. Sonic the Hedgehog for the Xbox 360 and PS3. Yes, you are seeing this right. Sonic the Hedgehog, more commonly referred to as Sonic 06, is my second favorite Sonic game. I'll start with the criticisms of this game, what few legitimate ones there are, and explain why they don't ruin the game for me like they do for so many other people. The glitches. Yes, they are a problem. They can be incredibly annoying, like when you fly off the loop in Wave Ocean, or a particularly annoying one in Shadow's Crisis City, where his homing attack will just stop and make you fall to your death. And I'm sure plenty more that people are currently typing in the comments. However, some of them are pretty fun. Like when Silver throws you into space, or you can beat the Egg Wyvern in one hit. They shouldn't be there, but they're a lot of fun to mess around with. And while I know people have issues with the story, I really like it. It feels a lot more grand and epic than other stories. While it has its fair share of plot holes, so does pretty much every other time travel story. People who have followed this channel for a while know that Silver the Hedgehog is my favorite character. And this game perfectly demonstrates why. He's got just the right mix of humanity and badassery to make him a great character. You can tell he's so desperate after living in this hellhole for so long, that when Mephiles comes along with a too-good-to-be-true offer, of course he's going to take it. And you can tell just by the way he interacts with Amy and how awestruck he is by the simplest things, that he's grown up in a completely different world. And after he nearly kills Sonic, he starts to question himself. At the end of the day, Silver's just a guy trying to do good in the world who gets tripped up from time to time, which is something we can all relate to. As for Mephiles, well, if you couldn't tell by the first video ever on this channel, I really like Mephiles. He's my personal favorite villain of the franchise. I can make a whole video explaining why, but for now I'll just say he looks awesome, and there are clear parallels in his story to Shadow's, in a way representing what could have happened to Shadow had Amy not helped him. But I know what you all really want to hear me talk about. Princess Elise. Surely I can't possibly defend her or the weird love story between her and Sonic. Well, yes and no. I don't personally much care for Elise as a character. She's not awful, let's be real, we've had much worse human tag-along characters. Chris Thorndike. She's just kind of there to be kidnapped and have Iblis trapped inside of her. She doesn't do much else, so I don't understand why they expected this character to be well received by the audience, when she's basically just Peach Light. As for the love story, I hesitate to even call it that, my issue with it isn't, well, isn't it weird that Sonic got kissed by a human? I mean, come on, look at Beauty and the Beast, or the one weird movie that came out recently where the girl falls in love with the fish man. Someone will know what I'm talking about, I didn't see it. It's not uncommon. The problem is that there's just nothing there until the end. I mean, take out a few scenes. The kiss, the forest mission, and Elise's cutscene with Amy, and you could easily pass it off as them just being friends. And whenever there was something quote-unquote romantic, it felt incredibly forced. It seemed what they were going for was for Sonic to be the one person who can kind of get Elise to loosen up from all the stress of being a ruler, while Elise is the one person who can bring out a side in Sonic that's more shy and nervous. That could have been a really interesting concept, but they have no chemistry because they spend so much time away from each other that whenever they try and do it, it just fails so spectacularly in execution. But enough of that. Let's get on to what makes this game awesome. The gameplay takes some getting used to, but once you get the hang of it, it's a ton of fun. Well, except for Amy. Man, she can't catch a break. And some of the auxiliary characters play a bit weird. Not bad, just weird, like Tails having a really abysmal ground speed, or Knuckles and Rouge not unsticking from walls. And I'm gonna get ahead of this because I know someone is gonna bring it up. Man, Silver is so slow. Yes, he is. He is slower than the other two main characters, but here's the thing. His levels aren't designed for going fast. They are much more akin to something like the Werehog with a lot more combat and platforming. There are some sections where he just runs straight like Radical Train or End of the World, where it's clear he was meant to have the speed chip upgrade. But those are rare exceptions that are far from enough to ruin the game. As for Silver's Dusty Desert, that's another one of those good glitches I was talking about. Shadow's levels are fun, although a bit too combat heavy for me. At least his Crisis City doesn't have that stupid mock speed section at the end, more on those later. Also, his characterization in this game is great. Think about it this way. He started as a villain in SA2, spent 2 games trying to find himself, and this is it. The end of his character arc. Shadow has become a full-fledged hero. I don't hesitate even slightly saying that 06's version of Shadow is my favorite by far. Sonic's gameplay is definitely the best. While not controlling as well as Adventure, he still controls fairly well. Like I said, just takes some getting used to. There are also these mock speed sections which are controversial. I like them. They give a good sense of speed while requiring you to have the skill to master them, even though they're a real kick in the pants to first timers. There's only one I really have an issue with. The Crisis City one. On top of being nearly impossible to avoid getting hit, in turn making it impossible to get an S rank, It's just lame. It is a straight road that you run on while a tornado throws stuff at you. Come on, did you use up all your creativity on the Kingdom Valley one? I've also heard complaints about Sonic's character in this game, and I do kind of have to agree with some of them to an extent. He's not as jokey as he is in most games, but that's to be expected. The situation is a lot more dire. And I'd rather my hero be able to treat these situations with severity rather than...
That's not fear. I ran all the way over here.
But I do understand why people will miss the banter that was there in games like Adventure and Adventure 2. However, I have to admit that out of the three protagonists, he has the least effect on the story, just kind of chasing after one princess the entirety of the game. Kind of weird in a game titled Sonic the Hedgehog, but I like Silver and Shadow just as much, so I'm fine with them getting a bit more spotlight. And because it would be a sin not to mention it, the music is great, with amazing tracks like the character themes, the level themes, hell, even some of the cutscene music is worth listening to on repeat. Overall, Sonic 06 is a flawed but fun experience. There's no reason to be ashamed of liking a game that other people don't like. I see plenty of people talk about games like this, Shadow, or Forces and say things like, I know it sucks, but I like it, or it's a guilty pleasure. You don't have to make excuses for liking a game, just like it. And if you're worried what other people think...
If you have time to worry, then none, right?
And my number one favorite Sonic the Hedgehog game is... Sonic Adventure 2 on the Dreamcast, GameCube, and various other consoles. I've only ever played the battle version of the game, but I can't imagine they're that different. This game is where the Sonic series really hit its stride, no pun intended. Great gameplay, a great story, great music, tied with 06 for my favorite soundtrack, and multiple playable characters. The story once again has plot holes, but those are insignificant compared to the amount of pure epicness this story has to offer. This is one of the few times where a villain not only has a well-crafted and believable motivation, but has an arc over the course of the game. We see brief glimpses of the person Shadow is, but is trapped under all this rage and sadness. That is until Amy helps him see the light. While the Bio-Lizard fight is epic enough in its own right, I like it because of what it represents. Shadow has spent the whole game consumed by rage and sorrow, only showing his true colors in small doses. In a way, this fight is a physical representation of Shadow's journey, having to conquer a twisted version of himself in order to emerge a hero. Or maybe I'm just up my own ass, anything's possible. The Sonic and Shadow stages are some of the best in the whole series, Sonic never playing better than he does here. The treasure hunting stages are fun, a bit frustrating at times, especially for a newcomer, but fun. And while the mech stages are a bit slower than they could have been, I still like them quite a bit. As previously stated, the music is fantastic. A few standouts being City Escape, Meteor Herd, Supporting Me, all of the character themes, although I gotta say I much prefer Tails' theme from the first Sonic adventure. And of course, Live and Learn, a song which perfectly captures the severity of the final boss. And it would be a sin not to mention Suitable Opponent, considering, it's my intro theme. Also, while this voice cast isn't my favorite, I personally prefer the Force Kids voice cast, with the exception of a few characters. They all do a great job. Unfortunately, the quality of the audio mixing doesn't match.
You're not even good enough to be
I'll
my
make you eat those words!
Overall, it's the little things that make SA2 so great. The way it doesn't shy away from darker themes. Literally having a child murder and a man's execution by the United Federation's government as key plot points. I'm not saying that, darkness and edginess automatically translates to good, but the fact that it could weave it in there, and that it had the balls to do so, I think says a lot about the ambition Sonic Team used to have. Also, the way we see characters come full circle in their stories. Hands down my favorite cutscene for Tails in the entire series is at the end of the hero's story, where he believes Sonic is dead but still rises to face Eggman, fulfilling his promise from SA1 to come out of Sonic's shadow. I could praise this game until my face turns Hedgehog blue, but this video has gone on long enough, so I'll leave you with this quote from IGN, back when they didn't suck. Sonic might appear on other next generation systems in the future, but right now all I care about is playing one of the best Sonic games ever on one of the best consoles ever. If this is the last Sonic game in these declining Dreamcast years, it's satisfying to know that the Dreamcast didn't go out with a bang, but with a sonic boom. If you've made it this far, thank you. I hope you enjoyed. I'm sure you have a favorite game that wasn't on the list, so let me know in the comments below what your favorite Sonic games are. I know my opinions are a bit unpopular, especially in this age of looking back on games that were well received and going, actually they suck now. Up until a few months ago, my number 5 would have been Shadow the Hedgehog, which is definitely an unpopular opinion. I'm so grateful to have made it to 50 subscribers, and in only a year's time. It's been a bumpy ride, most of my early voiced videos being, well... Yeah. But I've got a lot of ideas kicking up in the future, so I hope you stick around to see them. If you're new here, please leave a like and consider subscribing. We've made it this far. Here's to another successful year. As always, thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.